Welcome, everybody. My name is Mike Sears. I am the president and founder of Sears Wealth Management and Insurance Solutions, and we're delighted to have you with us again for another 30-minute Thursday where we take a financial topic for 20-30 minutes and we talk about it, and we are hopeful that it will be a topic that will be meaningful to you and that you can implement in your financial life. That's the whole goal of this. I have with us Seth Morris, who's my co-host and an advisor in our firm. Welcome to the broadcast, Seth.
Thanks, Mike, and I'd like to welcome everyone who's joining us today. And as always, if you do have questions or you'd like to comment along the way, please use your phone or computer. We'll try to address any questions that we can in the time that we have. If anybody's watching and they like, what they are hearing or seeing on the broadcast and they'd like to watch it again, or they'd like to see past videos that we've done, they can always go to searswealth.com and watch those, or they can go to YouTube, search Sears Wealth, and we have a video library there of past events that we've done here.
All right, great. I think, Seth, before we get started today and get into our topic, we'd like to just put up a disclosure. That this disclosure basically is saying that, especially in a Social Security seminar, this seminar is not related to or endorsed by or connected to in any way any government agency or organization. And of course, the material that we're providing to you is really general information only. There's nothing that we should be that we're talking about today that should be construed as something as financial advice. But hopefully the information that we're providing to you today will be helpful and timely, and we've tried to make it as current as we possibly could. Obviously, things change quickly, so we've done our best to cover our bases there. So, Seth, why don't we go ahead and dive into our topic today?
Yeah, so our topic today is, when should we take Social Security? And I think that's another way to say, should we take it early? Should we wait and take it late? But Mike, I think there's a question that's on a lot of people's minds that maybe we could address just from the get-go, and that's is will Social Security be there for us in the future? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think those of you who are on this broadcast today, that's got to be a major question with all the things that are going on in the news and what's going on in Washington. We worry something we paid into all of our lives, Social Security. We wonder, will it be there for us in the future? And for a lot of people, millions of people are counting on that Social Security check to be there. So we went to the Social Security website and we did some digging. By the way, Haley will provide to you a link that you can go to if you want to check out the full report. This is called the August 2021 Trust Report from the Social Security and Medicare Board of Trustees. And so I wanted to give you, there's many, many, many pages of this document. And so what I'm trying to say to you during our time together isn't exhaustive, but I pulled out the two key pieces of information that I thought you'd want to know. And of course, the question is, will Social Security be there in the future? This is what the report said. I'm going to read it to you. It says here, the Old Age and Survivor Insurance Trust Fund, that's another way of saying the Social Security Trust Fund, which pays retirement and survivor benefits, will be able to pay scheduled benefits on a timely basis until 2033, 1 year earlier than reported last year. At that time, the fund's reserves will become depleted, and continuing tax income will be sufficient to pay 76% of scheduled benefits. Now, let me repeat that last line. At that time, the fund's reserves, not the trust fund, the reserves in the fund will be depleted, and they are scheduled to be able to pay, at least according to this report, 76% of your scheduled benefits. And then at the end of the report, it concluded with this statement that I thought would be important for those of you watching today. It says this, quote, lawmakers have many policy options that could reduce or eliminate the long-term financing shortfall in Social Security and Medicare. Lawmakers should address these financial challenges as soon as possible. Taking action sooner rather than later will permit consideration of a broader range of solutions and provide more time to phase in changes so that the public has adequate time to prepare. So, Seth, what are your thoughts about what I've just read?
Well, first off, for me, it's a little unsettling, and you don't get fuzzy feelings when you think that you may be paying into something and that it might not be there in the future. But I think what's important from what you read is that they're not saying Social Security is going away. They're saying there may be a reduction in the benefit in approximately 11 years from now, but that if changes are made, they may be able to fix that. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And of course, so we don't know. We don't know what Congress will do. We don't know what the future holds. But and I think that's really the purpose of this. We wanted to give it to you straight up. This is the latest report. This is the latest data. 76% of benefits projected in 2033, which should tell us, really, Seth, I think, more than anything else, the importance of planning for the future today is more important than ever. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
No, really, we want to plan for what if Social Security is reduced? What if it stays the way that it's supposed to be? We get 100% of our benefit. We want to plan for what's going to happen in either scenario.
Yeah, I think that's right. So maybe we could talk about, I think you on the call would like to know, what are the solutions? What changes may be made in the future that could provide more strength to the Social Security benefits that we're enjoying today?
Yeah, Mike, one of those changes is they could push back the full retirement age for the younger people on this call. And I think many of us have already seen that. There was a time when the full retirement age was 65, and that's what we could claim our full benefit. Now, for people born after 1960, their full Social Security retirement age is 67. And so it's possible, and probably most likely, we will see that age pushed out further in the future for the younger crowd.
Okay, that could be a possible solve, or at least help in some way, making the normal retirement age later. Another option that we've heard bantered about is they could increase taxes on those who are working. Those of you who are getting a W-2 paycheck, you know that not only do you have federal and state taxes that are being withheld, but you're also having FICA taxes being withheld, which is paying into your Social Security benefit each year. And that payment that's going into the Social Security Trust Fund is being used to help to create the benefit that you hope to enjoy by the time you're at your full retirement age, or the age at which you take benefits. So increased taxes could mean more money in the system. That might make the Social Security more sustainable than it is today.
Yeah, we've already seen talks about them raising the income limits at which they will have contributions going into Social Security. So that's possible. Another thing that we see is, they could play with the consumer price index numbers. Straight from the Social Security website, they say approximately 70 million Americans will see a 5.9% increase in their benefits and supplemental Social Security payments in 2022. Federal benefit rates increase when the cost of living rises, as measured by the Department of Labor's Consumer Price Index. So perhaps, they may change how they calculate the cost of living increases in the future to preserve some of that Social Security Trust Fund, or some combination of the things that we've talked about.
And I think the good news here is, by the way, the thought that's running through my mind through everything we've been talking about, you've heard us say this. I mean, the centerpiece of all good planning is financial plans, is a financial plan for the future. And now more than ever, especially when you hear changes that possibly could be taking place in the future, not only what happens in the government, but also in your own personal life, planning is probably now one of the most important things that you can do. And the good news is that there are options available. The challenging part for us is that we don't know when lawmakers or Washington will make changes. And we just don't know that yet. So that's a little disconcerting, a little bit.
Yeah. So, Mike, enough of the boring stuff, I guess. So, what can the people watching today do to optimize their Social Security benefits now and in the future?
Well, I think the first thing is, we need to know the rules. I mean, and of course, we only have, 15 to 20 minutes. There's no way we can cover all the rules, and we don't intend to. But just a few key things. I think the first thing is really knowing what does it mean? What is your normal retirement age? And I'm going to try to share my screen if I can do this properly. And let's see if this can work. Hopefully, you can all see that. I'm going to see if I can make it just a little bigger. Is that good enough, Haley? Okay, so let me just make that just a tad smaller. Okay, so you can see it. This screen says full retirement age and collecting benefits early. There's a lot of columns here, but see if I can simplify it. So the first thing, what we're trying to determine is when is your full retirement age? Full retirement age means at what age could you get your full retirement benefits based on your years of work, without any reductions to your benefits. That's really what we're talking about. And so the first thing that you want to do by looking at this chart, and I do think I'm going to make it a little bit bigger and move it up a little bit. Hopefully that's better. The first column here is you want to look at what year were you born? And let's take the middle of the road here. Let's say 1955. I know some of you have been born a lot later, some of you earlier, but let's just suppose that you were born in 1955 and your full retirement age would be 66 years of age and 2 months. That is the age at which, you can see that right there, that is the age in which you're entitled to your full Social Security benefit, whatever that might be. And so the next set of columns here says, what if you take it early? So the earliest that you can take Social Security is age 62. And if I were to ask you, if you're in a room, do you think your age 62 benefits would be greater or smaller? What do you think, Seth? What do you think?
Well, I think, the longer we wait, the bigger it'll be, hopefully.
Okay, so if we take Social Security at age 62, we're going to have quite a reduction. Well, how much of a reduction? Well, this chart shows, let's just suppose as an example that your full Social Security benefit at age, in this case that we're picking age 55 or born in 55, was 66 in 2 months. And I was entitled to my full Social Security benefit was $1,000. If I took it at age 62, let's go across here and you can see that Social Security benefit has been reduced by what percentage, Seth? What do you see?
25.83%.
Yeah, or that $1,000 retirement benefit is reduced from $1,000 a month to $741 a month. And so that's what would happen if I take my Social Security benefits early, age 62. And every year I wait beyond age 62, my Social Security benefits would increase until I get to my full retirement age, whatever age that might be according to the chart. So does that make sense to everyone so far? Take a look again. What age were you born? Identify what your full retirement age is. And then you can also ask the question, if you needed to take it early, how much of a reduction would you receive? You can see that if you took it at age 62, a person who was born in 55, the reduction would be 25%. If you were born, look at the very bottom here. If you were born in 1960 or later, your full retirement age is 67. Okay? If you took your benefit at age 62, how much is the benefit reduced? 30%. Interesting. If you're born later, you can see that if you take it earlier, that your Social Security benefit will be reduced by a larger percentage.
Mm-hmm. Now, Mike, you have a couple columns over here on the side. It's spousal benefit. I think there's a lot of people that aren't even familiar with what a spousal benefit is, and they're kind of surprised when they find out about it. It's kind of a little bonus. So, Mike, maybe you could explain to us how that works.
Well, if you have a husband and wife that are married, right, and So I'll take my situation. So let's suppose, for example, I have my Social Security benefit is $1,000 a month that's going to come to me. Well, if my spouse had worked, she would also have a Social Security benefit based on her earnings and her work history. Okay, so but what if she hadn't worked at all? If she hadn't worked at all, she's still entitled to a maximum benefit of 50% of mine. So in this example, if my full Social Security benefit is $1,000, my Julie would be entitled to half of that, or $500 a month, 50% of my benefit, assuming she takes that Social Security benefit at her full retirement age. What if she takes it at age 62? So let's go again across right here. You can see right here, if we go across, right, you can see that if my spouse takes it at age 62, you can see that her Social Security benefit, her spousal benefit, is reduced by 30%, or $345. If she would have waited until she was at her full Social Security age, she'd get the entire $500 set. So there is a spousal benefit, and from a practical standpoint, a spouse, if he or she has their own retirement benefits from Social Security coming because of their work history, they'll look to see what's higher, the benefit they would receive based on their own work history or their spousal benefit. And if their spousal benefit is greater, they would take the higher of the two. There's some variations to this, which we don't have time to get into, but basically that's how that works.
Okay. Now, Mike, we see what happens if someone, takes it early or waits till their full retirement age. What about for those that may want to say, I'm going to delay my Social Security?
So
what happens for them?
So if a person wants to delay their Social Security, what that is meaning is delay means after their full retirement age. If you were generally today, if you were waiting beyond your full retirement age to take your benefits, you get an 8% increase per year. And so the latest that you can delay is age 70. So if you've got 4 years of an 8% increase, that means your Social Security benefit, if your benefit was at $1,000 a month, will increase 32% by the time that's age 70. And of course, if you were taking that, so anyway, that could be a tremendous benefit. And there's some people, by the way, Seth, who do need to wait until they're age 70. Their financial situation warrants that they need to wait as long as possible to take that Social Security benefit. And so here they would have a nice increase of 8% per year every year after their full retirement age.
Mm-hmm. So simply put, if we take our benefits early, there's a reduction. If we delay them, we'll see an increase in that Social Security benefit. And Mike, what we're talking about today is how can we optimize that benefit? Where's the sweet spot? Do I take it a little earlier? Do I wait? And there's some questions that we need to ask ourselves in the planning of when we should take our Social Security. And I think, the first one, we'll kind of go over a list of some of the things, but the first one is, are you married or are you single? Why would that be important, Mike?
Well, obviously, if you're single, you've got one option. Well, I mean, you've got a couple of options. You could take it early or you could take it late. But if you have a spouse that has Social Security benefits in addition to yours, there's ways to optimize that and as we've just got done talking about, there's spousal benefits to consider. There's each person's own earning record that we need to consider. So that opens up some additional planning options if you're married as opposed to just, you're just by yourself.
Mm-hmm. I think another, the next one would probably be, what are the other sources of income that we have to work with, right?
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to bring up another slide, I think, if I can do that. And let's go to this next slide. Let's see, I'll make that just a little bit smaller. I hope you can see that okay. Traditionally, if we look at, what we're talking about here, we look at this three-legged stool, we're looking at what are all the sources of income that could come to a person in retirement. Most people will have multiple sources of income in addition to Social Security. And so that three-legged stool has often been, one is government provided benefits or Social Security benefits. That's one source of income in retirement. The one on the right could be your own retirement savings, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, things that you have saved, money that you have saved on your own over a number of years. Why would that be important? Because that's another source of income that could be generated at retirement. And then, of course, a big one that we see often, and in fact, most of the money in the U.S. is in employer-sponsored plans or income-type products that can create income. It can come in the form of a 401k plan or a 403b plan. It can be an actual pension. All of those are other sources of income. So Seth, before we make a decision on how much or when to take Social Security, we want to take into account the other sources of income that we have. Any thoughts on that? Why that would be important?
No, I really I love this analogy of this three-legged stool, because if any of us have sat on a three-legged stool, you can feel pretty quickly when one leg is shorter than the other two. And we want all of our sources of income to complement one another. I think, a lot of us would like to be able to say, we're standing on our own 2 feet. We don't need government benefits. We don't need Social Security, but most of the time that's not the case. And most of the time, Social Security can be a wonderful supplement in retirement. And so planning and, going over the math of things, because the math doesn't lie, and making sure that we're electing our Social Security at the right time and that it's, maximizing our retirement savings and our employer-sponsored plans is really what it's all about.
So I think maybe this is a general statement for those of you who are watching, but if you're a person and for whatever reason, there isn't any retirement savings and there isn't any other sources of income, there's not a pension, there's not an employer-sponsored plan, and you're really running on a one-legged stool where all you really have is Social Security, the question that would be asked is, if that is the case, when should I take Social Security? Any thoughts on that, Seth? When a person in that situation would take Social Security?
Well, in that situation, you'd want to delay as long as you could. You'd want to let it build and grow so you had the maximum benefit going forward.
Okay, I agree. And of course, the only reason when you might take it early, isn't it interesting? If I said to you on the call, if I could mathematically prove to you that it would be more beneficial for you to take your Social Security early, but I could also mathematically prove to you that it would be better for you to take your Social Security later, is it possible that both those statements are true? And the answer is yes. They can be true, because the answer to it is it depends. It depends on not just one factor. It depends on how old are you when you're starting retirement. When do you plan to stop work? I have a slide here that I think is really important. Let's take the example that you decide that you want to take Social Security at age 62, but you want to keep working. And so this other slide is a good one. By the way, this how earnings affect your benefits, this actually should say 2021, not 2019. That's an error. But the rest of the slide is correct. So let's read this. It says, when taking benefits early, $1 of benefit is deducted from your Social Security benefits for every $2 of earnings over $18,960. So think about that. You're age 62, you want to take Social Security, but you want to keep working. Well, what if your income is over $18,960? That means that your Social Security benefits are going to be reduced. So maybe that's not the best idea. If you're going to take Social Security at age 62 and you don't want a reduction in your earnings, then probably that's a sign that you probably shouldn't keep on working. Or if you're going to keep on working, then delay the Social Security to when you stop working. Seth, when a person reaches their full retirement age, is there any deduction here that you're aware of?
No, there's not. So for whatever age your full retirement age is, you can start taking your Social Security benefit, a full benefit, and you can work as much as you'd like and earn as much income as you'd like. And a lot of people, call it double dipping. And some people do find that they want to do that or that they need to do that.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, the point of all of this discussion is that before you decide when to take Social Security, you don't want to do it in a vacuum. You want to take a look at your entire financial affairs and see, because the advantage for a person who has additional income sources may very well allow them to take income from those sources and delay having to take Social Security early and build up that Social Security, not build it up, but be able to take at a later date a higher amount of money. And Social Security really is, ladies and gentlemen, it really is longevity insurance. And I think we should really say, that according to the Society of Actuaries, they said, and I'm going to quote this to you, it says, if a man and a woman are married, the chances that at least one of them will live to any given age is increased, and that there is a 50% chance that one of them will live to age 92. Well, that's a long time. Well, Social Security is longevity insurance. Basically says the longer I live, the more benefit I'm getting out of Social Security. And so don't discount Social Security. It is a major source, and we want to make certain that we do it right. Seth, let me ask you this question. If we had a person who was, and we've seen this too, a person who really has more income than they really need, they wish they didn't even have to take the required minimum distributions because they've got a good batch of money. What do we often see with people taking Social Security in that situation? What do you think? What do you see?
In that situation, it really, I guess it's kind of an individual decision. But if you don't need it, a lot of times they'll just take it, because who couldn't use, a couple extra $1,000 a month, and they can go and they can do good with it. And sometimes they'll decide to wait. So that one really is individual decision. But if you don't need it, a lot of times they'll just take it.
Okay, I see that a lot. I mean, who couldn't use an extra couple $1,000, and you could do probably a lot of good with it. So,
no, that's right.
Other thoughts?
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say, we're kind of closing in on time, but there's a lot of questions to be asking, in the decision of when to take Social Security, when to turn it on, when to turn on spousal benefits. And there's, very sophisticated software to help us, to see what the benefits would be if we delay, if we take them early. And so there's a lot of planning that can be done. We don't have the time to go over it all in 30 minutes.
So a Social Security analysis would really be incomplete if you did not marry that together with a financial plan. And all good planning begins with finding out where we're at today, creating a plan for the future, taking into consideration all of the income sources that we have, all of our assets, what our goals are, and then executing that plan. And for us, that's the centerpiece of everything that we do. And it works. So with that, we're delighted to have been with all of you today. Thank you for being with us on our 30-Minute Thursday. Signing off from Rancho Cucamonga. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you again for being with us. Good night.
Thanks.